Peter, what do you think? I mean, when it comes down to the sort of binary decision, is this a slump that you go in and look for opportunities in, or do you gird for more to come? Where does your decision fall?
Well, look, I'm probably not as bullish as my former colleague Jonathan here, but overall, when you look at the broad drivers of equity market returns, by and large, it is still the growth numbers, and the growth numbers are, particularly in the US, they're still extremely healthy, and it doesn't look to us that there's any sign of this coming to an end anytime soon. So therefore, I would not be too worried about the near-term sell-off that we've seen. A correction was overdue, but I reckon it's not more than a correction.
Okay, and so if we've been roiled by higher Treasury yields, where does that story go as well, Peter? I've got a chart here that shows the flattening, the almost constant flattening we talked about for so many months, and then a little bit of steepening, and now back to flattening again?
Well, not necessarily, because, I mean, again, one of the reasons, and I mentioned this earlier, one of the reasons why the yield curve has been flattening was because the Fed was driving up short-term interest rates, preemptively, one might say, on the view that eventually, technically speaking, the Phillips curve reasserts itself, wages go up, and eventually inflation comes back. Now, we haven't really seen the latter for a long time, but now it might be the point where it actually happens. So we do see wages going up, we do see the labor market globally being relatively strong, and therefore we think there's a very, very good chance that not only the implied inflation expectations can reassert itself, but also that the market reprices where the Fed eventually might end up. And all of that leads me to believe that I'm not sure about a steepening, but certainly there's a much higher probability that we see a parallel shift higher in the yield curve in the US rather than this extremely strong flattening that we've seen over the last couple of months.